The phone call came on a Tuesday afternoon while I was folding laundry. Victoria's voice was calm, almost sweet. "Cassandra, dear, I wanted to talk to you about Christmas." I balanced the phone against my shoulder, smoothing out one of Kyle's shirts. "Of course, what's up?" There was a pause, the kind that makes your stomach drop before your brain catches up. "I think it would be best if you didn't come this year. You make me uncomfortable, and I need to feel relaxed in my own home during the holidays." The shirt slipped from my hands. I stood there, frozen, unable to form words. She continued like she was discussing weather. "Kyle already understands. It's nothing personal, sweetheart. Just family this year." Then she hung up. I stared at my phone, heart pounding, hands shaking. Did that really just happen? Did my mother-in-law actually uninvite me from Christmas? The worst part wasn't the exclusion. It was how easily she said it, like I was nothing. I sat on the edge of our bed for 20 minutes, replaying the conversation in my head. Had I misunderstood? Was there context I missed? But her words were crystal clear. "You make me uncomfortable." Not "we need space," not "let's talk about this." Just a simple dismissal, like returning a sweater that didn't fit. My phone was still in my hand. I opened the recording app, the one I'd started using months ago during business calls. Every conversation automatically saved. I scrolled back, found today's date, pressed play. Victoria's voice filled the room again, exactly as I remembered. "I think it would be best if you didn't come this year." There it was. Recorded, time-stamped, undeniable. This wasn't a misunderstanding or my imagination. She had actually said those words. And she'd claimed Kyle already knew. That part stabbed deeper than the rest. I saved the recording to 3 different locations. Something told me I'd need it. Sitting there, memories flooded back like a dam breaking. The dinner 6 months ago when I'd walked into the kitchen and everyone stopped talking. Victoria had smiled quickly, too quickly, and changed the subject. The family photos on her mantel where my face was somehow always cut off at the edge. The birthday party invitation that never arrived, even though Kyle got his weeks early. "Oh, I thought Kyle would tell you," Victoria had said when I showed up anyway. The time she'd introduced me to her bridge club as Kyle's friend, even though we'd been married 2 years. Every slight, every small exclusion I'd blamed on misunderstanding suddenly clicked into focus like a lens adjusting. This wasn't new. This had been happening all along. I'd just been too polite, too accommodating, too desperate to be liked to see the pattern. She'd been erasing me slowly, carefully, while smiling to my face. When Kyle came home, I met him at the door. "Did you talk to your mother today?" He set down his briefcase, loosening his tie. "Yeah, briefly this morning." "Why?" Kept my voice steady. "She called me. Told me not to come to Christmas. Said I make her uncomfortable." His face fell. "What?" "No, she didn't mean it like that." There it was. That automatic defense, that instant jump to explain her away. "Kyle, she literally said those exact words." He ran his hand through his hair, that gesture he did when stressed. "Look, Mom's been under a lot of pressure lately. She probably just worded it wrong. You know how she gets anxious about hosting." I stared at my husband, the man who promised to stand beside me, now building excuses for his mother's cruelty. "She said you already understood." His silence confirmed it. He had known. Maybe not the exact words, but he'd known something was coming and hadn't warned me. That hurt worse than Victoria's call. 2 days later, Kyle's sister Bethany called. We'd always gotten along fine, nothing deep but pleasant enough. "Hey Cass, just wanted to check in. Mom mentioned you're not really into big family gatherings." My grip tightened on the phone. "She said what?" Bethany sounded confused. "Just that you prefer smaller celebrations. That Christmas might be overwhelming for you this year." The lie was so smooth, so perfectly crafted. Victoria had flipped the script completely. Now I was the one choosing to stay away, the one who couldn't handle family time. "Bethany, that's not true at all. Your mom uninvited me." Silence stretched between us. "Oh, That's not what she told us. After we hung up, I sat very still. This wasn't just exclusion. This was character assassination. Victoria was rewriting the story, painting me as fragile or antisocial or whatever narrative served her purpose. And everyone was believing it. I pulled out my notebook and started writing down every lie I could remember, every twisted story, every time my words had been rephrased into something I never said. 3 days later, Victoria called again. Her voice dripped with concern. "Cassandra, sweetheart, I've been worried about you. Are you doing okay? You seemed upset the other day." I said nothing, just listened. She continued, filling my silence with practiced sympathy. "I know the holidays can be hard for some people. All that pressure, all those expectations. If you're feeling overwhelmed, that's completely understandable." She was doing it. Right now on this call, she was framing me as unstable, as someone who couldn't cope, making my hurt into my weakness. "Kyle mentioned you've been stressed lately," she added gently. "Maybe some quiet time at home would be good for you." I bit my tongue, fury rising in my throat. She wanted me to argue, to get emotional, to prove her narrative right. "I'm fine, Victoria. Just processing." Her talk. Let her dig deeper. The recording app was running. Every word saved. "Well, if you need anything, I'm here," she finished sweetly. "Family takes care of family." The irony made me want to scream. Instead, I thanked her politely and ended the call. Then I saved that recording too. Kyle came home late that Friday, smelling like his mother's perfume. He'd stopped by her house after work. "She's really upset," he started. "She thinks you're mad at her." I looked up from my laptop where I'd been organizing files. "I am mad at her," he sighed, sitting beside me. "She told everyone you asked not to come to Christmas. That you needed space from the family." There it was. The full inversion. My exclusion had become my choice. My hurt had become my request. "And you didn't correct her." His silence was answer enough. I pulled up my phone, found the first recording. "Kyle, listen to this." He shook his head. "I don't want to get in the middle of this." That phrase landed like a slap. There was no middle. There was his wife and his mother, and he'd already chosen which side to take. I didn't play the recording. Not yet. Something told me timing mattered, that this moment wasn't the right one. I needed everyone to hear it together. Witnesses who couldn't walk away or make excuses. I needed the truth to be undeniable. I spent the next week preparing. Not with anger, not with revenge fantasies, but with careful documentation. I transcribed both recordings, noting timestamps and exact phrases. I printed out text messages showing invitations I'd never received. I made a timeline of every exclusion, every lie, every twisted story. My anger cooled into something sharper, cleaner. Strategy. I researched. Learned that in our state, one-party consent made my recordings completely legal. Discovered that Victoria's pattern had a name. Parental alienation. Read articles about family dynamics, manipulation tactics, the slow erasure of unwanted members. Knowledge replaced emotion. I wasn't planning a confrontation. I was planning a revelation. There would be no yelling, no accusations, no dramatic scene. Just her words, played back in her voice, undeniable and clear. The truth wouldn't need my anger to make it powerful. It would speak for itself. Christmas Eve was in 10 days. I marked it on my calendar with a single star. That would be the moment. Not Christmas Day with its chaos and gifts and obligations. Christmas Eve, when the family gathered for dinner, when everyone would be together, present and unable to leave early. 1 week before Christmas, the group text arrived. Victoria to the family chat. Christmas Eve dinner at 6 p.m. Immediate family only this year. Looking forward to a cozy, intimate evening. Kyle's phone buzzed on the counter. I read the message over his shoulder. My exclusion broadcast to everyone at once. The replies came fast. "Sounds perfect, Mom. Can't wait. Should we bring anything?" Kyle picked up his phone, started typing, then stopped. He looked at me, conflict written across his face. I'll tell her I'm not coming without you. Something shifted in his expression, something that looked like shame mixed with determination. He'd been quiet these past days, watching me work on my laptop, hearing the clicks as I organized files. He'd asked once what I was doing. I'd simply said, "Getting ready." Now he stood straighter, typing quickly before he could second-guess himself. "If Cass isn't welcome, I won't be there either." He hit send. His phone exploded with responses within seconds. His mother calling, his siblings texting. Everyone suddenly panicked about Kyle's absence. But he silenced his phone and looked at me. I should have done that from the start. That night Kyle couldn't sleep. He sat on the edge of the bed, shoulders hunched, staring at nothing. "She did this before," he said quietly. "When Brian was dating that teacher, Mom convinced everyone she was stuck up. They broke up within months." I waited, letting him continue. "And there was Aunt Phyllis. She stopped coming to holidays years ago. Mom always said it was Phyllis's choice, that she didn't like our family. But maybe." His voice trailed off as the pattern revealed itself. "My cousin's wife too. Mom said she was controlling, keeping him away from us. But what if it was Mom pushing her out the whole time?" He turned to me, eyes red. "I've spent my whole life making excuses for her. Smoothing things over, telling people she didn't mean it, that they misunderstood. I've been cleaning up her damage and calling it peacekeeping." I took his hand. "What do you want to do?" He squeezed back. "Whatever you need. I'm done protecting her at your expense." This moment mattered more than any recording. My husband finally saw his mother clearly, and he chose our marriage. "I have a plan," I told him. "But I need you to trust me." He nodded. "What do you need?" I explained it carefully, simply. Christmas Eve. The whole family. 5 minutes to clear the air. No drama, no yelling. Just the truth. He listened, and when I finished, he asked only one question. "Will this help or hurt?" I considered that honestly. It will hurt her. But it will help everyone else stop living in her version of reality. He was quiet for a long moment, then nodded. "Okay. Let's do it your way." The next few days felt surreal. Kyle handled his family's pushback while I finished preparing. His mother called 18 times in 3 days. His siblings texted constantly, some angry, some confused, all worried about breaking tradition. But Kyle held firm with a simple message. "Cassandra is my wife. She comes or I don't." I refused to let this become an ambush or some dramatic showdown. I didn't want tears or accusations or a screaming match that would let Victoria play victim. I wanted something quieter, more powerful. Truth without theatrics. I practiced what I'd say, keeping it simple and direct. No emotional appeals, no long explanations. Just a request for 5 minutes, then let the recording speak. Kyle asked if I was sure. "She'll never forgive you for this." Thought about that. Forgiveness implied I'd done something wrong. I hadn't. I'd simply refused to disappear quietly. "I'm not trying to destroy her," I explained. "I'm trying to stop being erased." He understood. By Christmas Eve morning, Victoria had caved. Kyle could bring me, but she'd made her displeasure clear through icy texts. "If that's what you need, fine. But I won't have drama in my home." I texted back once. "There won't be any drama. I promise." Meant it. Drama was messy, loud, easy to dismiss. What I had planned was none of those things. We walked into Victoria's house at 6 a.m. The smell of ham and cinnamon hit us immediately, along with the hum of family conversation from the dining room. Then silence as we appeared in the doorway. Victoria stood by the table, her smile freezing like a frame stuck in a movie. Everyone turned. Kyle's father, his 3 siblings and their spouses, 2 teenage cousins, all staring. Victoria recovered quickly, that practiced hostess charm snapping into place. "Kyle, Cassandra, you made it." Her tone suggested surprise, though she'd known we were coming. We moved into the room, accepting hugs and greetings that felt slightly too careful, like everyone was walking on glass. Victoria pulled Kyle aside, her voice low but sharp enough for me to hear. This isn't appropriate. After everything, bringing her here when I asked for family space. Kyle didn't budge. She is family, Mom. I set my purse down carefully on the side table, the one where my phone waited in the outside pocket, easily accessible. Victoria shot me a look, something cold beneath her pleasant mask. I smiled back, calm and steady. Let her think she'd won, that I was just here to endure the evening quietly, that Kyle had forced this. It was better that way. Dinner proceeded with uncomfortable politeness. Bethany asked about Kyle's work. His brother made jokes about football. Everyone carefully avoided mentioning the obvious tension. I ate quietly, answering questions when asked, participating just enough to seem normal. Victoria watched me like a hawk studying prey, waiting for me to crack to make a scene, to prove whatever narrative she'd constructed. I didn't give her anything. After dessert, as people started clearing plates and settling into the living room, I stood up. My hands were steady, my voice calm. Before we do gifts, could I have everyone's attention for just 5 minutes? There's something I need to clear up. The room went quiet. Victoria's smile didn't falter, but her eyes hardened. Cassandra, I don't think this is the time. I met her gaze evenly. It'll only take 5 minutes. Just a misunderstanding I'd like to address. Kyle's father looked between us, confused. What misunderstanding? No one objected directly. Victoria looked confident, almost smug, like she knew whatever I said would only make me look worse. That confidence would make this moment even more powerful. I pulled out my phone, hands completely steady now. I'm just going to play something. Then everyone can decide for themselves what happened. Press play. Victoria's voice filled the living room, clear and unmistakable. I think it would be best if you didn't come this year. You make me uncomfortable, and I need to feel relaxed in my own home during the holidays. The recording continued, every word crisp and clear. Kyle already understands. It's nothing personal, sweetheart. Just family this year. Then the click of her hanging up. Silence crashed over the room like a wave. Every face turned toward Victoria, who'd gone pale, her mouth slightly open. Then she laughed. A nervous, high-pitched sound that seemed to surprise even her. That's not what I meant. You're taking it out of context. I said nothing, just stood there holding my phone. Kyle's father leaned forward. Victoria, you told us Cassandra didn't want to come. She waved her hand dismissively. I was trying to be kind. She's been stressed, I was giving her an out. I played the second recording. Her voice again, dripping with false concern. I know the holidays can be hard for some people. All that pressure, all those expectations. Kyle mentioned you've been stressed lately. Maybe some quiet time at home would be good for you. Bethany's eyes widened. Mom, you told me she didn't like family gatherings. Victoria's composure started cracking. I was protecting her. She was struggling and I didn't want her to feel pressured. But her voice wavered now. The confidence was gone. Victoria tried again. You manipulated those recordings. Took them out of context. Kyle's brother Brian spoke up. Mom, we all heard them. Those were your words. She pivoted, her voice rising. I was misunderstood. I only wanted what was best for everyone. The holidays are stressful enough without walking on eggshells around someone who clearly doesn't want to be here. I finally spoke, my voice quiet but firm. I never said I didn't want to be here. You told me not to come, then told everyone I chose to stay away. Victoria's face flushed. I was protecting this family. Protecting the harmony we've always had. Bethany set down her wine glass with a sharp click. Protecting us from what, exactly? Victoria gestured at me desperately. From disruption. From someone who doesn't understand our dynamics. Kyle's father, usually silent during family conflicts, cleared his throat. Victoria, answer your daughter's question. Protecting us from what? The room waited. Victoria looked around seeking support, finding none. She just doesn't fit. She's never fit. And I have a right to be comfortable in my own home. The truth finally. Not about stress or misunderstandings. Just plain exclusion. Just, you don't belong. Her husband's face changed, something hardening in his expression. Since when do we exclude family members because they don't fit? Brian spoke next, his voice careful but firm. Mom, remember when I was dating Teresa? You said she was rude to you. Victoria's head snapped toward him. She was. He shook his head. She wasn't. I see that now. You just didn't like her, so you convinced me she was the problem. Bethany added quietly. And Kyle's friend from college. You said he was a bad influence, that he was pulling Kyle away from family. But he was just existing. Being Kyle's friend. The siblings started sharing stories, cautious at first, then more confident as each memory validated the others. The cousin who stopped attending holidays. The family friend who suddenly wasn't invited anymore. The pattern emerged in real time, built from years of small moments they'd all dismissed individually. Victoria tried to interrupt. You're all misremembering. You're letting her turn you against me. But nobody was listening to her anymore. They were listening to each other, to the pattern they'd all witnessed but never named. Kyle's father sat very still, his face grave. How long has this been going on? Nobody answered because nobody knew. Years. Decades. How far back did the erasures go? Victoria stood abruptly. I don't have to listen to this. This is my home. But nobody moved to leave. Nobody apologized. They just sat there, finally seeing clearly what they'd been trained not to notice. Kyle stood up. His hands were shaking but his voice was steady. Mom, I need to say something. Victoria turned to him, hope flickering in her eyes. Her baby boy would defend her, make this right, restore order. He didn't. I've spent my entire life managing your moods. Apologizing for things you said. Convincing people they misunderstood you. Making excuses for why someone suddenly wasn't welcome anymore. His voice grew stronger. I told myself I was keeping the peace. That I was helping the family stay together. But I wasn't helping. I was enabling you to hurt people without consequences. Victoria's face crumpled. Kyle, you don't mean that. He continued like she hadn't spoken. I watched you push people away, then rewrite history so it looked like their choice. And I helped you do it by staying silent. By choosing your comfort over everyone else's reality. Tears ran down Victoria's face. I'm your mother. After everything I've done for you. Kyle's voice broke slightly. You are my mother. Love you. But I won't do this anymore. I won't sacrifice my wife, my marriage, my integrity to protect you from the consequences of your own behavior. The room was absolutely silent. Victoria looked around desperately, seeking an ally, finding none. Even her husband wouldn't meet her eyes. Nobody yelled. Nobody hurled insults. They simply stopped defending her. That silence hit harder than any accusation could. Victoria tried once more. Someone defend me. Tell them they're being unfair. Her husband finally spoke, his voice heavy. Victoria, I can't. She turned on him, betrayal written across her face. After 37 years of marriage. He met her gaze sadly. After 37 years of explaining you to people, I'm tired. These recordings, what everyone's sharing, it's all true. And I've known it was true. I just didn't want to see it. The teenage cousins watched in silence, absorbing this adult moment. Bethany wiped her eyes. Brian stared at his hands. Kyle stood beside me, no longer a bridge between his mother and wife, but firmly on one side. Victoria sank back into her chair, smaller somehow. The power she'd held through force of personality, through manipulation of narrative, through everyone's willingness to smooth things over, that power dissolved in the face of simple truth. Nobody attacked her. They just stopped pretending. stopped excusing, stopped rewriting her cruelty into misunderstandings. And in that silence, something fundamental shifted in the family structure. The center collapsed, and everyone realized the center had been hollow all along. Cal spoke again, calmer now but absolutely firm. Here's how this works from now on. Cassandra is my wife. She is welcome everywhere I'm welcome or I don't come. Period. Victoria looked up, a flash of her old fire. You'd choose her over your own mother. Kyle's response was immediate. Every single time. He softened slightly. Mom, I love you. But love doesn't mean accepting abuse. Doesn't mean letting you hurt people I care about. You can be part of my life, but only if you treat my wife with respect. Bethany added. That goes for me too. My husband deserves better than being tolerated. Brian nodded. And any future partners I bring around. This pattern stops now. Victoria's face cycled through emotions. Anger, hurt, disbelief, panic. She was cornered, and for the first time, she realized her usual tactics wouldn't work. Tears wouldn't erase the recordings. Guilt wouldn't undo everyone's shared memories. Anger wouldn't rebuild the power structure that had just collapsed. Kyle's father stood slowly. Victoria, I think you need to hear this. These aren't ultimatums. These are boundaries. You can accept them or... He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't need to. Everyone understood. The family wasn't ending, but the old rules were dead. Victoria looked around the room one more time, seeking something she wouldn't find. Then she whispered, I need some time. She left the room. Nobody followed. Christmas Day came quietly. The morning felt surreal, like the world should look different after what happened but didn't. Kyle and I exchanged gifts in our apartment, the space peaceful and unhurried. His family group chat had been silent since last night, nobody sure what to say. Around noon, Bethany texted, brunch at our place if you want. Loki. Just need some normalcy. We went. The gathering was small. Bethany's family, Brian and his wife, the cousins. Victoria and Kyle's father stayed home. Nobody mentioned last night directly, but something had fundamentally changed. Conversations were easier, more honest. There was no performance, no careful navigation around invisible tripwires. We ate, laughed, played games with the kids. Felt like family without the weight. Around 4, Kyle's phone buzzed. His father. Your mother wants to apologize. Can we come by? Kyle showed me the text. He nodded. They arrived an hour later. Victoria looked smaller, older. She sat carefully, hands folded. For a long moment she said nothing. Then quietly, I owe you an apology, Cassandra. Waited. She continued, each word seeming difficult. I was cruel. I excluded you deliberately. And I lied about it. It wasn't everything. It wasn't perfect. But it was a start. Victoria looked at me, something desperate in her eyes. Can you help me fix this? Help smooth things over with everyone. I considered my words carefully. Victoria, I can't fix this for you. Her face fell. But I caused this problem by... She stopped herself, realizing where that sentence led. I continued gently but firmly. The family doesn't need smoothing over. They need honesty. And that has to come from you, not through me making excuses. He tried again. I didn't mean for things to go this far. If I apologize properly, we can get back to normal. Kyle stepped in. Mom, normal was the problem. Normal was Cassandra being excluded and everyone pretending not to notice. Victoria offered half apologies, conditional statements. I'm sorry if I hurt you. I'm sorry you felt excluded. Each one trying to soften the reality of what she'd done. I shook my head. I appreciate you coming here. But I won't rewrite what happened to make it easier for you to accept. You excluded me. You lied about it. Those are facts. She looked at Kyle's father, seeking rescue. He remained quiet, offering no escape. Finally she stood. I need time to process this. As they left, Kyle's father touched my arm briefly. Thank you for not letting this continue. That moment mattered more than Victoria's half-formed apologies. Over the following weeks, the family dynamic shifted in subtle ways. New Year's plans got made without Victoria's input or approval. Bethany organized a dinner. Brian suggested a movie night. Invitations moved through sibling group chats instead of flowing from Victoria's command. She was included in these plans, but no longer central to them. No longer the gatekeeper deciding who belonged. The change wasn't dramatic or punitive. People still called her, visited her, included her. But they stopped deferring to her. Stopped checking if she approved. Stopped reshaping their lives around her comfort. At a January brunch, Victoria arrived late. She'd always been first before, setting the tone, controlling the flow. Now she walked into a gathering already in progress, conversations happening without her direction. She sat quietly, participating but not dominating. I watched her navigate this new reality, sometimes accepting it, sometimes visibly struggling. But the family didn't bend back. They'd seen behind the curtain, heard the pattern spoken aloud. They couldn't unknow it. Bethany told me privately. It's weird. It's like we're all exhaling after holding our breath for years. That captured it perfectly. Nobody celebrated Victoria's diminished role. They simply stopped organizing their lives around maintaining it. And in that shift, space opened for something healthier. Kyle's father called me in early February. Can we talk? We met for coffee, just the two of us. He looked tired, older than his years. Victoria blames you for what's happening. Says you turned the family against her. I sipped my coffee, unsurprised. And what do you think? He was quiet for a moment. I think you held up a mirror. And she doesn't like what she sees reflected. He continued, she's my wife. I love her. But I've spent decades making excuses, managing her reactions, convincing people to give her another chance. I'm exhausted. I listened without judgment. He wasn't seeking permission or absolution, just acknowledgement. The hardest part, he said, is realizing I enabled this. Every time I smoothed things over, I made it possible for her to keep hurting people without consequences. We sat in silence. Then he asked, can she come back from this? I thought about that honestly. I don't know. That depends on whether she wants to change or just wants everyone to forget. He nodded slowly. She keeps saying she's the victim in all this. That everyone's being unfair. That answered his own question. Victoria wasn't interested in change. She wanted restoration. Return to the old power structure where her narrative went unchallenged. The family's not going back, I said gently. He smiled sadly. I know. I just needed to hear someone else say it. Spring came quietly. Easter plans formed without the usual drama. Victoria attended, behaved appropriately, spoke politely to me. But something permanent had shifted. The invitations now came from Kyle's siblings, rotating hosts. Victoria was a guest, not the center. She'd stopped trying to control narratives or exclude people. Maybe she'd learned. Maybe she was just afraid of losing more. I didn't celebrate this change as victory. There was no satisfaction in watching someone's power dissolve, even when that power had been wielded cruelly. But there was peace. I could attend family gatherings without anxiety. Without wondering which conversation I'd interrupted or which version of me Victoria had presented in my absence. People asked me questions and believed my answers. My presence wasn't treated as an imposition but as normal. Expected. Wanted. That was the real victory. Not Victoria's diminishment, but my presence being unquestioned. Kyle and I hosted a dinner in April. Victoria came, brought flowers, thanked me for having her. The words were practiced, careful, but genuine enough. Accepted them. We were never going to be close. But we could exist in the same space without warfare. That was enough. The family had found equilibrium. Not perfect, not problem-free, but functional in a way it hadn't been before. Everyone could breathe. December returned. The anniversary of that phone call, that dinner, that recording. Victoria called me directly this time, asking if Kyle and I would come to Christmas Eve dinner. Her voice was careful, almost formal. "I'd like you to be there, Cassandra. If you're willing." Accepted. We arrived together on Christmas Eve. No tension at the door, no careful navigation of invisible rules. The house smelled the same, ham and cinnamon and pine. But the atmosphere was different, lighter somehow. Victoria greeted us normally. Not overly warm, not cold. Just present. Dinner proceeded smoothly. Conversation flowed naturally. Nobody walked on eggshells or performed for anyone's benefit. When gifts were exchanged, there was one with my name in Victoria's handwriting. Inside was a framed photo from our wedding, one I'd never seen before. Kyle and I laughing, caught in a genuine moment. Victoria had been the photographer. She'd kept this photo for 3 years. "I thought you should have it," she said simply. Not an apology, not a grand gesture. Just acknowledgement that I'd always belonged, even when she tried to erase me. Thanked her, meaning it. I didn't destroy Victoria that night a year ago. I removed her power to make me invisible. She thought silence protected her. That if nobody spoke the truth aloud, her version of reality would stand. She was wrong. Truth doesn't need volume, just needs voice. And sometimes that voice comes from a recording, played in a room full of people finally ready to listen.